Welcome everyone to today's webcast. We're thrilled for you to take time out of your busy day to spend an hour with us. Today we're going to talk about integrating product transparency into product marketing and how to make the business case for that activity. Now, the title of the presentation is not mine. It's actually the title of the article that was published in this quarter's edition of U.S. Builders Review. And I met the folks from U.S. Builders Review at Greenbuild last year in 2015 and again in 2016 when we were launching the Sustainable Minds Transparency Catalog. And they came by and said, you guys keep launching new and innovative products in this space. We really want to do an article about LEED v4 and product transparency. So we'll set up an interview and you can tell us about it. Well, it turned out that to tell someone about what product transparency is, how it got started, why manufacturers are pursuing creating disclosures, why architects, engineers, and contractors are asking for them, and how Sustainable Minds even got into this business. That's not really a 1-hour interview that would allow a journalist to write an article. And it turned out it took a number of interviews and drafts to put it into 1,000 words that could fit on 2 pages to tell this story. And, in summary, after these folks had kind of started from zero and gone to the end of the story, this was their summary, their take on it, and therefore the title of the article, From Hurdle to Marketing Tool, You Can Make Money with Product Transparency. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to do a background on Sustainable Minds because I'm going to try to answer all the questions that I did for these journalists, who we are, where we came from, what we've been working on in terms of product transparency challenges and goals, and the research that we've done to really understand this deeply ourselves. And then really looking at what is the value proposition for this concept of integrating product transparency into product marketing, which is a concept that I'm not going to say that we developed because it was just apparent several years ago. Product transparency is just another set of criteria that people will use to make decisions about products. So that would belong with all the other information they need to make decisions, and that's all in the product marketing information. So why wouldn't you put it all together? Let's do that there. And so we'll talk about the value proposition and the ROI of making that happen. And then I'll take you through our transparency products. We have 4, and we've developed them over the last 4 years as we've learned and worked along with the market to understand the demands and the goals, and to build customer-centered and customer-driven tools that ultimately pay off for the manufacturer to integrate product transparency into product marketing. So I'm going to start with this basic premise that manufacturers today face 2 key problems. They need and want to both design greener products, and they also want to market greener products. And it's the same drivers driving both desires. We've got the continuing increase in costs of natural resources. We've got regulation in various parts of the world. We've certainly got supply chain risk to deal with. This image is a tip of the hat to Mattel when they had to deal with finding lead in their paint procured from Chinese manufacturers and delivered to kids playing with Barbie dolls. Certainly, here's the gold ring, which is to develop new innovative products that drive new revenues and ultimately build a credible brand and create preference for that brand. And it's the same story whether they're designing greener products or marketing greener products. The brand wants to be known for having credibly greener products. Now, to give you a little bit of a background on Sustainable Minds and how long we've been at this challenge of understanding, designing, and marketing greener products, this is a company timeline that looks at the products we brought to market and key customer wins, key market industry acknowledgments. And in the beginning, our very first product is our Eco Concept and LCA software. We were the first company to bring a simplified eco design and LCA tool to the market for product manufacturers to be able to evaluate the environmental impacts of their products in the earliest stages of concept design, to be able to understand where in the life cycle the impacts were occurring. They could rapidly model new design scenarios using eco-design strategies to drive innovation in different life cycle stages, and ultimately be able to make better decisions before moving into manufacturing. We were also the first to do that, and always it's been in the cloud. So we saw a lot of adoption early on. Autodesk was our first investor, and over time we've seen not only adoption in industry, but major adoption in education, and not just in engineering or industrial design, but in graduate schools of business, undergraduate schools of business, executive MBAs, every kind of engineering, chemical, environmental, civil, mechanical, industrial design, and now even architecture. Building on that knowledge about designing greener products, in 2012-ish, 2013, when the USGBC announced LEED version 4, we looked at what is product transparency, what are these credits for environmental performance and material health, and what are they really asking manufacturers to do? And when we looked really under the covers, our first takeaway was, wow, this is really hard. And that is really going to be difficult for manufacturers to get on board and scale this and really integrate it into the way they do business so that they can make products that AECs will be able to specify so that they can earn those credits in LEED version 4. And so with the same inquisitiveness and determination, we set about creating our next family of products to help manufacturers market greener products, and those are transparency products. So today, we simply refer to ourselves as a B2B cloud provider of environmental product transparency applications, data, and services, and we're experts in product transparency, and we're experts in customer experience. And so we really don't look like any other company in this landscape. And we often get the question, like, what kind of company are you? And so we're a little bit like a bunch of companies that you work with already in this space. So because we have an LCA software tool, we're like ThinkStep or Prey, but our software, LCA software, is for early stage product development, not for doing full LCA. So those products don't compete. And when we decided to get into the product transparency space, we really had to go deep into the technical standards weeds to understand how these technical standards were driving the deliverables that manufacturers were creating to hand over to design and building professionals. And so to be able to look at that end deliverable, because the whole point in doing disclosures is to communicate information about the products, we quickly zoomed in on that end state deliverable. How was that deliverable effectively delivering product transparency information or not? So we became a program operator so that we could simplify the ISO 14025 Type 3 environmental declaration process for creating PCRs, doing LCAs, and delivering EPDs. And as a result, we were one of the founding members of the Program Operator Consortium because we all identified that for product transparency to scale, there have to be simpler, more standardized, and more useful solutions offered to manufacturers in the marketplace who are going to invest in product transparency to build credibly greener brands and ultimately preference and choice. Our mission, we're a mission-based company, and it's been this since day one, has been to operationalize environmental performance into mainstream product development and manufacturing to drive revenue and growth through greener product innovation. So it's all about making better products to grow businesses and markets and just simply make it part of the way things get done and not something that gets added on later. So now if you look at it from kind of a diagrammatic approach, making and marketing greener products is a continuous improvement loop. And a manufacturer can start wherever they like. So here, I'm going to start here at number 6. A manufacturer can start by designing greener products, and our software was designed for that purpose, and hopefully they're actually going to make a greener product than they made before. Now they might decide, well, yeah, now we want to market that product, and now we're going to create some product transparency information. So now we've got to get involved in finding a technical standard for reporting environmental performance that might exist already, or we're going to have to create a product category rule for our category if it doesn't exist. Once that's done, you develop the life cycle assessment according to that product category rule, that PCR. And from that LCA, the manufacturer develops a Type 3 environmental declaration, also known as an eco profile or an EPD. ISO 14025 says a program operator can call a Type 3 environmental declaration anything they want. Then they have to get the transparency information out into the marketplace where people who are looking to make decisions about products can find that information and use it. And now the manufacturer, once they've gone through that cycle and deeply understands where the impacts are in its products and have maybe done some things to improve or not, they get to go back and drive that knowledge back into product development and hopefully improve their products and continue to go through this loop. Now, some manufacturers have said, hey, look, I'm just going to get started in product transparency because we want to be leaders. And so we're going to create PCRs or we're going to use existing PCRs. to do LCAs and create EPDs, and we're going to do what it takes to get them out in the marketplace. And some, not all, but some say, wow, now we've done this detailed LCA. We actually do know where the impacts are in our life cycle. Let's take that information and drive it back into product development and improve our products so the next time we come out to market, we actually have real stories to tell about what we're doing to improve our products. And guess what? It should show up in the LCA results. Now, if you look at where LEED and the other green building rating systems are going, today's challenge is how do we create benchmarks for categories or even help manufacturers benchmark their products themselves, because being able to measure improvement and go for continual improvement is going to be, actually you'll see that in the LEED credit language. You're already starting to see it. But really it is all about creating market-driven continuous improvement. So Sustainable Minds products sit around this improvement loop. So we became a program operator. We were the first in North America to create a 2-part PCR program to make it simpler to create. Part B's, which is the part that's unique to the product group, and all the LCA rules for how the LCA gets done and what goes into the report is in this Part A, so that never has to get rewritten. The Program Operator Consortium has standardized around this Part A, so anytime a group of manufacturers or a trade association goes to any one of the consortium members to start a new PCR, all of us will use this same Part A so that the LCA rules and what goes into the Type 3 environmental declaration never has to get revisited. It will always be the same, and all you have to do is focus on the rules for comparability, for evaluating standards and performance for your product group. That's all that needs to be done. So it can be faster, simpler, more cost-effective, and lead to better comparability. The outgrowth of actually developing the framework was the outgrowth of our very first transparency product, which is our transparency report. It is a Type 3 environmental declaration where we got very, very specific about integrating product transparency into product marketing. That why would you have a separate document like an EPD for someone to make comparative decisions about a product that's separate and apart from all the other information they need to make purchase decisions, which is in your traditional marketing brochures. So the transparency report, and I'll show you a little bit more of it later, is 3 pages. It's not 10 or 20 or 40, it's 3 pages, and includes everything somebody would need to know to make a purchase decision. In fact, that's all on page 1, and it includes the LCA results and what the manufacturer is doing to improve. And when a manufacturer creates transparency reports, or you'll see any of our other transparency products, they get marketed in their own brand showroom that is integrated into their own website, so that any user coming to a manufacturer's website looking for their products with transparency information can easily find all their products that have transparency information and get in, get out, and know that that manufacturer has really made a commitment to delivering this information to people like them. And then you can go back into product development and take the information from the life cycle assessment, put it into our software tools, our software tool to help product teams evaluate existing products, run scenarios for improvements, understand where those improvements can be achieved, hopefully make a greener product, and you go through that cycle again. Now, when we started looking at material ingredient reporting, we understood that there were already a number of technical standards for doing material ingredient reporting. And so there was no need for us to revise or update or simplify those technical standards. But unlike the environmental performance side of things, having an EPD as a market-facing deliverable, none of these programs really have a market-facing deliverable whose intent it is to explain what the material ingredients are of those products, and further to integrate it into product marketing so everything is there all in one place. So that led to the development of our next transparency product, our material health overview, which takes the technical information from any of these programs, presents it in a standardized way, and allows the manufacturer to interpret what the results mean, talk about what they're doing to improve, talk about the goals they've set for product improvement, but get very, very specific about the decisions that they're making about the material ingredients they choose, and what this information that's being disclosed, what does it actually mean? So back to the article. I'm zooming here in. If you took a look at the article, it's one of those PDF magazines, and I just want to zoom back into the beginning of the story as I'd explained it to the journalists, that LEED had done a great job creating credits in LEED version 3 and previous versions to reward energy efficiency in many forms. And on the product side, they had a series of credits for achieving individual attributes or single attributes like recycled content or local sourcing. And the folks at LEED understood that the product or the material side of LEED was not as robust as the energy efficiency side of LEED. And so they turned to the technical community, and I'm going to say the LCA community and the chemists, and said, hey, we need something more robust to fill out our credits to ensure that manufacturers are actually making higher performing products, and that AECs can be sure that they're specifying higher performing products so that the end result is a higher performing building, because a building is just a compilation of products and parts. So all the parts themselves need to be higher performing, so it adds up to a higher performing building. And that really opened the whole can of worms, if you will, because for things to add up, they have to be similar. And even in today's current state, the ways of measuring are not similar. They're trying to be more similar, but they're still not. There's different ways to measure. There's still no good benchmarks. And now there's a whole range of rating systems, too, that have said, great, product transparency is the right idea, because it really is a comprehensive look at what's in products and why. And let's get away from those single attributes, because they only tell one piece of the story. Let's really look holistically at the product. And so to do product transparency reporting, manufacturers are now required to create disclosures. Now, I always had trouble with that word, which is why I like to stop and kind of evaluate the word disclosure. I couldn't figure out why it bugged me so much, so I went and looked it up. And these are the synonyms for disclosure. And then it made me understand why that word bugged me, because who really can get excited about creating disclosures? And for anyone who has created a disclosure, has been through the process, it's hard. It's a lot of work. And you really want to feel pretty good about it, because you're doing a lot of work to find out some pretty important stuff, which is how to actually improve the design of your products, and then how to tell stories about your products, about your company's commitment to making higher performing, less impactful, better for the built environment products. How do you tell those stories and substantiate those stories with these technical disclosure documents? So again, going back to the 2012, 2013 timeframe, when we started to dig in to this product transparency and what are manufacturers really being asked to do, we started our research on Type 3 environmental declarations, where anybody would start, which is to read the technical standard. And so this is from the page 1, this is from the foreword of ISO 14025, and it says, it's important to consider the information needs of the people who are going to be consuming the information. So pay due attention to the level of awareness of the target audience and the information that they need, because the goal for a Type 3 environmental declaration is to encourage the demand for and the supply of products that cause less stress on the environment through communicating verified and accurate information to stimulate the potential for market-driven continuous environmental improvement. Now, I think this statement is awesome. I come back to it all the time because it is exactly the right thing. You got to think about what it is you're telling someone. How do you tell it to them? And then what do they do as a result? As a result, they should either buy products, create demand for better products because they're not satisfied with the products that they're being given. And so I said, great, well, now let's go look at EPDs. Let's see if, in fact, the EPDs pay attention to the level of awareness of the target audience. So for consumers of building products, that's architects, engineers, contractors. And as a result of reading an EPD, will I feel better about that manufacturer and either want to specify their products or at least help that manufacturer understand what I'm looking for? So we did a huge study. We looked at about 40 different EPDs from all over the world in different product groups, and this was our takeaway, that they were mostly too long. We found some that were 40 pages. They were mostly 20 to 25 pages. The shortest ones were 10 or 7, but they were full of technical information, tables and tables of LCA results that no one other than an LCA expert would know what they mean. There was other environmental data, like some of the single attribute data, but hard to figure out what that meant too. Little to no marketing information, and if there was some marketing information, the technical information was so overwhelming, you couldn't really make heads or tails of the marketing information. Those of you who are familiar with EPDs know that they're not comparable. And so our bottom line was, how does an architect, builder, or contractor use an EPD to make an informed purchase decision? Now, some years later, after we finished working on our transparency report, which came out of that research, we also turned our attention then to the material ingredient reporting. And we did a similar kind of study, although we didn't need to look at 40. There were only a handful of programs. But nonetheless, these were our findings. They're very technical. So what do they mean? you can't always determine what's in the product and why from the different disclosures, and some are rating systems. In some instances, a manufacturer may be required to disclose hazardous ingredients with little to no explanation of what those hazards mean, or if there's actually an exposure concern. They're not comparable, there's no marketing info, and so the same kind of question, how does an architect, builder, or contractor use them to make a purchase decision? We also wondered too, like, why are there so many different ways to disclose material ingredients, and why do different AEC professionals ask for different types of disclosures? And how many disclosures should a manufacturer do? And how would they choose which ones to do? Do they answer different questions? And so what does the manufacturer learn from doing one or more of those types of disclosures? Do they help with design? And then what do they tell the customer? And then finally, if two different kinds of assessments, of technical assessments, are going to be used to earn two different types of environmental credits, why wouldn't you provide all the information in one place? So, I mean, think about it. Why would you have a marketing brochure, an EPD, and an HPD or a declare label, or a cradle to cradle, or a manufacturer's inventory, or a BIFMA level in three separate things? Because, and I like to throw this slide in to get people's attention, the truth about environmental and material disclosures is that just because they exist is not an indicator of a greener or healthier product. It is purely a disclosure. Remember, they're not comparative. They don't have a final bottom line, unless on the material side, several of them are rating systems. And so you get some degree of understanding about the relative material health of the product. But today, manufacturers can lay down any amount of money, or the same amount of money, to create LCAs, EPDs, material ingredient reports, and you can use them to check a box to get the credit, but it's very difficult to really understand what is that manufacturer doing to make better products. And so now, with LEED v3 having sunsetted, and now there only being LEED version 4, there are many more AEC professionals looking for products with transparency information. We really like to make the point, people aren't looking for disclosures. They're looking for products with disclosures. And so we ask the question, if you have disclosures and you're a manufacturer, one, have you made it easy for your customers to find your products with disclosures? And when they find your products with disclosures, what will they learn about those products when they arrive at that information? And I put this table on the screen here that LEED is not the only green building rating system now offering credits for product transparency information. And I think that we'll continue to see more adoption and more compliance to earn these credits in these different rating systems. So with all of that, we firmly believe at Sustainable Minds that product transparency builds credibly greener brands, but not by just producing disclosures. We believe the value for manufacturers to provide environmental information about their products comes from demonstrating they understand what it means and they know what they're doing. Because making greener purchase decisions requires consistent, understandable, and meaningful information. And if people get that information, they'll see that truthful Information builds trust, trust builds powerful brands, and powerful brands create preference and value for their companies. So today, the challenges for manufacturers who have invested in product transparency information are twofold. One is AECs are still challenged to find them, not just find the disclosures, but specifically find the products that have those disclosures. And when they do find those disclosures, they really are not well enough educated on the whole to understand what the information means and use it to make informed decisions. And the challenge for manufacturers are, for the manufacturers who got going early, and bravo for just getting started. Now, like I said, we're out of the early adoption phase. We're into the early mainstream phase. So lots of manufacturers are able to lay down the same amount of money, create disclosures, and just having disclosures is no longer a competitive advantage. And further, if you're a manufacturer who have spent a lot of money on creating disclosures, you may be hard-pressed to pointing to a lot of instances where those disclosures have led to a sale or many sales. And even if they have, the time to create them, to invest in their creation, to train people to do them, to train sales and marketing and partners to use them, and to distribute them is only going to increase. And still, manufacturers are challenged to help the AEC community find what they need, and at the end of the day, for themselves, build a credibly greener and healthier brand. Now, more of our research turned up this interesting statistic, which is that 84% of architects research products on your website first. Well, that makes a lot of sense. When you want to know something about a company, you go to their website. But now think about, if you work for a manufacturer, think about your own website. And if you don't work for a manufacturer, think about a manufacturer's website you may have visited when you yourself were looking for products with transparency information. Today, most manufacturers' websites were not designed to deliver what we call an intentional user experience to that AEC who has come looking for your products with transparency information. Now, if the manufacturer has created disclosures, let's just agree that somebody in that company or some buddies in that company believe that the customer who's looking for products with disclosures is important enough to serve, and therefore you've created these disclosures. But websites, because product transparency is new, were never designed in contemplation of being able to kind of link and integrate this content. And so what we have are the traditional silos. You might find product information in one place, sustainability information in another place, our sustainability section, our sustainability page, our commitment to sustainability. And you may even find a disclosure download page where all the HPDs and EPDs and whatnot are available for download. But it's not too often that you see all the disclosures correlated with the products that they actually disclose, or with the value-added stories of what the manufacturer is doing to improve, all kind of integrated in one place. And so, to put a finer point on it, the way disclosures get made, you're looking at creating HPDs, for example, is all the products that have 90% the same ingredients can be disclosed in one HPD, because the HPD is a disclosure of ingredients. That could be one product, it could be 10 products, it could be 100 products, it could be more than that. And so it's really often very challenging for a user to figure out which products and disclosures go together. Because you may have way more products than you have disclosures, and there really just isn't a good way to deliver those side by side yet. And I had a really interesting question asked of me last week by one of the manufacturers we're working with, who is who's really he's this kind of a guy. He's a senior leader in environmental health and safety, but he's also came up through design and product development, and they're creating disclosures, but they deeply understand they have this gap between creating disclosures and using them in sales and marketing. And so, he's really been challenged with bringing together all the people who need to be involved in a project from soup to nuts, creating disclosures, getting all the data, understanding what is happening, what happened in the past, getting marketing and sales lined up with new product introductions, making sure that the disclosures aren't contradicting anything new that's being said. So, it's just a whole new process requiring people who may not have had to work together very much in the past or ever at all to work together now, to go from this, very, very detailed, actually molecular level of product and ingredients all the way out to telling, broad-based stories to an entire market. So that's a real journey. But everybody who's involved actually has to understand why the company's doing it and what their role in getting it done actually is, because everybody does have a role. So I'm going to pause here for a moment and just kind of ask the question, what would the impact on your business be in a world where none of these problems existed, where everybody knew what they were doing and worked together, and it's easy to make disclosures and easy to get that information on your website, with the products correlating to the disclosures? What would the impact on your business be? I ask you to just think about it for a moment. So here's the slide that we've been building up to this whole time, which is, what is the value of integrating product transparency in product marketing, and how would you measure the results? So we've broken it down into 4 main value propositions, and the way you measure a value proposition is either does it lead to cost reduction, or does it lead to value creation, or does it do both? So we like to ask the manufacturer, the people that we're meeting with, these exact questions. What would it be like if these problems didn't exist? And which of these problems are really causing you the most stress, anxiety, cost, ineffectiveness? Because if you start breaking it down, and let's talk about, let's just jump into the second one, sales and marketing operations efficiency and effectiveness. Let's start with the first one, easier and more effective sales training. So if you had all the product information with the transparency information and understandable content about what it means and what you're doing and the way you make products to improve them, and you had a real easy way to train your sales partners, your architectural reps, your distributors. How much time and money would you save compared to how it's being done today? I'm sure there's some money being spent on training, some money being spent on distribution, but what could be saved if it were simple and easy to do and all in one place? And then further, so that might be some cost reduction, but what's the value creation? So let's think about an individual sales rep, and let's say a rep closes 3 meaningful deals in a quarter. But now if they're selling to this type of user, the AEC, who cares about earning these credits, product transparency credits in the rating systems, and building actually higher performing buildings, let's say they do 1 more deal a quarter, because now they can effectively sell to that type of customer. Well, if you take 1 more deal a quarter, and let's say a deal is $20,000 times 4 quarters times the number of salespeople, that begins to add up pretty quickly. And you can walk through each one of these value propositions and do your own back of envelope ROI calculation, whether it's cost reduction or value creation, and pretty quickly see that there's a huge opportunity to improve your business on a whole bunch of fronts simply by thinking in an integrated way to tell a compelling story. And this one here is the easiest one. What happens when somebody comes to your website looking for your products with transparency information and can't find them? Well, they go on to your competitors, and possibly you lose the deal entirely, or it takes a lot more time and energy and effort to close that deal. So there's costs now associated with getting that deal closed. So like I said, it's really easy to step through each one of these and do your own calculation. So having said all that, I'd like to tell you about Sustainable Minds transparency products that were designed to address every single issue we've already talked about. They're next generation marketing tools that turn disclosure into brand value by integrating product transparency into product marketing. They're designed to inform greener and healthier purchase decisions because they combine all your product sustainability efforts into one integrated story in an understandable and meaningful way for non-technical readers, and provides the value add of integrated explanation and improvement stories that disclosures don't report. And because you're taking credible data and combining it with product marketing information in a standardized format, it's much easier for salespeople to use. You can actually build your talking points right in. And it's all findable in one place in the manufacturer's website. So anytime someone comes to your site looking for products with transparency information, they're there in your brand showroom, and you are on your way to building a credibly greener brand. So I'm going to do a quick rundown of our 3 transparency products: the transparency report, the material health overview, and the performance fact sheet. And you can use one or more of these reporting tools per product family, per product group. It really depends on how you market your products. And they all, no matter which of these reporting tools you use, all of your products with transparency information get displayed in your brand showroom. So here's our transparency report. It is a Type 3 environmental declaration. We like to tell manufacturers, you have a choice now. When you do an LCA, or when you hire someone to do an LCA, or if you hire Sustainable Minds to do an LCA, you don't have to hire us. You can do your own, you can work with anybody else, but at the end you have a choice. You do not have to create the old-fashioned long EPD that's in a Word document that is in a PDF where the data is not accessible anymore, and it gets stored in a program operator's database, you can choose to create a transparency report. It's just another type of type 3 environmental declaration. You have a choice. And it's 3 pages, like I said. Everything somebody needs to make a purchase decision is on page 1. The LCA technical information and the interpretation, what does it mean? What are we doing to improve, is on page 2. And page 3, which is optional, allows the manufacturer to tell any and all of the stories about what they're doing to improve in any or all of the life cycle stages. And it ties back here to the interpretation and to the results. The material health overview is now built on page 1 of the transparency report. So performance dashboard with features and functionality, environmental performance, all the certifications and rating systems that have been utilized and achieved for the product. It's all right here in one place. And the material health overview was designed to do this. People just want questions answered quickly. What's in the product? Are there any hazardous ingredients? If yes, how bad are they? Are there any exposure concerns? And what's the company doing to improve? So the format is identical to page 2 of the transparency report. On the left side is the technical reporting results. And what we do is we actually explain what program was selected to report in and how the program works. And we display the results, the technical results. And then the right side is where the manufacturer gets to talk about, in this case, how was this rating achieved? What level was achieved? What's in the product and why? Are there any red list ingredients? Where does it go at the end of its life? How are we making it healthier? And the value in the rating systems that this report earns them. Now, because there are different programs that people can use for material ingredient reporting, we've tailored a version of the material health overview for each technical program. And the results get displayed a little bit differently because of what the information is disclosing. And so the guidance for how to write the interpretation is also a little bit different. How is this rating achieved for the rating systems, or what's causing the greatest health concerns for straight up disclosures? And because the guidance is just that, the way manufacturers have been writing the interpretation to explain what does this mean has been super interesting, because this is where they get to say, we've been looking for alternative ingredients. We've swapped out 2, we're still looking for another, but these are our goals. And this is why when you use our product in the way that we've created our product, it doesn't present exposure concerns, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here's where the technical people get to tell their story in a meaningful way so that people can come away from that saying, oh, they're doing disclosures, they understand what the information means, and they're doing something about it. The last transparency product is our performance fact sheet. And this is designed for manufacturers who have already created a lot of different types of disclosures. And so, again, it's the same page 1, performance dashboard, all the certifications and rating systems, actually links to the product information in the manufacturer's website. Because this is all in the cloud, you can link to wherever you like. And now the manufacturer gets to link all of the different types of disclosures that they have organized into an easy to understand table organized by environmental performance and material ingredients. It links directly to the disclosure itself. And we've pulled to the surface kind of the key attributes or results from each of those disclosures, so that in a glance, someone can see not only what you have, but what it means, and they can dig in to learn more. We introduced the performance fact sheet with GAF, and you can see this table is expandable and contractible depending upon the types and number of disclosures that you have. And what's interesting, because you get to tell a product story or a product family story, in this case, this is a product solution story. It's a performance fact sheet for the EverGuard Extreme TPO, but to install the TPO, there are a number of accessories. So this is actually a performance fact sheet for a product system where they have the disclosures for the Extreme TPO, but they also have HPDs for all of the accessories. So everything is right here, linked from the page. You get the value in the rating systems, you can contact the manufacturer, and all those products get linked from your brand showroom. The last transparency product is our transparency catalog. And the reason I talk about it as our last product is because we've really been talking about the catalog a lot since we introduced it at Greenbuild. But Sustainable Minds is not turning into a catalog company. The catalog is just another way to make it easy for the AEC industry to find manufacturers who have invested in product transparency information, to reward them for having done that. And we believe that product transparency is the most valuable filter or lens that could be put over brands and their products, because we've found that the products manufacturers choose to create transparency information for are either their most popular products, the ones that are actually higher performing, or they've really got nothing to hide. So great, they're investing in transparency information. And because it's the newest, hardest, most expensive thing to do, all those products already have the other certifications or green ratings for that category. So you just dig in and you find the rest of that stuff. Our goal is to make it possible for manufacturers to make their products findable in effectively an educational marketing platform where the education is permanently built in the form of all that content in the transparency report, the material health overview, the performance fact sheet. And so there's no need to sell sponsored content or advertising or any of the other things you might see in a traditional marketplace or catalog, because all of that is already integrated. And the manufacturer gets to tell their story in a standardized way and link out to all the other content that they have, whether it's videos, product information, customer stories, whatever it is. And so the first phase of the catalog is about making manufacturers' products findable with all of the disclosures that go with them, so side by side. And then all of this data, because it's in the cloud, will be able to be used for other kinds of computational purposes and other tools, making better informed comparisons. Once the data is in the cloud, it's all bets are off. We can do really useful things. But I really want to reinforce that we're solving the problem of helping people find your products with transparency information in your website first. It's a benefit that they can come to the transparency catalog and also find your information there. But in either case, they're going to get sent into your website, which is where you want to have a relationship with a customer. So that's a really new model, and it's important to reinforce that. And I just want to invite any or all of you to go to the transparency catalog today. It's in phase 1. All the manufacturers who have invested in transparency. It's, again, an unusual design because we wanted all those manufacturers to just be on the front page so people could see that there are many, many manufacturers who've gotten started. This is phase 2. It will be coming next quarter, where we'll apply filtering. So We already have solved the use case of find all products from a brand. You'll be able to filter very simply and find all products from a brand in a CSI product category, and then you'll be able to map all of those products and their disclosures to the rating systems and the credits that offer those. Now you can get started very simply with the catalog. It's our entry-level transparency product. You can create a listing. We have some really awesome manufacturers listings that have gone live in the last few weeks with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of products, easy to find. This is $2,500 a year to get all your products in. I'm just going to wrap up with, it's a very different kind of catalog. Your information is yours. Your analytics are yours. We never sell to third parties. We don't scrape the internet. Everybody benefits. And as a reminder that green building is in service to a higher idea, we also are contributing a portion of the proceeds from the catalog to the National Park Foundation every year. Who are transparency products for? They're for you, the manufacturer who believes better marketing helps sales, drive revenue, who wants to sell to the users who are looking to build higher performing buildings, who care about leadership and innovation and design of your brand and your products, that you're thinking holistically and longer term, that you are making actually greener and healthier products, and you care about providing understandable and meaningful information. And you want to be able to make money. So that's my story today, how we go from disclosure to brand value and how to make the business case for integrating product transparency into product marketing. And I want to thank you for sticking with me through the webcast. Those of you who had some questions that we didn't answer will follow up. And we hope that you have a great day. Thank you.